Scary werewolf and dogman stories told in the rain. Number 1. The Hairy Hound Man of Holly Tree. My great-grandfather used to tell me stories about the Hairy Hound Man of Holly Tree, Alabama. The Hairy Hound Man was a dogman, half man and half dog, and he only ate bad people. Even when I was a kid, I thought it sounded like a myth or a legend. But my great-grandfather swore that he had seen the Hairy Hound Man with his own eyes. The Hairy Hound Man was said to live in the deep woods behind Holly Tree, where the trees grew thick and the undergrowth was dense. He roamed the forests at night, sniffing out the scent of evil. Whenever he came across a bad person, he would leap out of the shadows and drag them into the darkness, never to be seen again. My great-grandfather had heard that the Hairy Hound Man had once attacked a group of men who were planning to rob a bank. The dogman had pounced on them, biting and clawing until they fled in terror. The beast followed them, but the police never found them. They had simply vanished. As the years went by, the story of the Hairy Hound Man became a family legend. My grandfather passed the tale down to my father, and then to me. We talked about it at family gatherings, wondering if the Hairy Hound Man still roamed the woods around Holly Tree. One night when I was in my 20s, I decided to go on a hike in the deep woods. I wasn't sure what I was looking for, but I wanted to see if there was any truth to the story my family had passed down for 3 generations. It was dark by the time I reached the real heart of the forest. The shadows were thick and foreboding, but I pressed on. I had brought a flashlight, but I didn't want to draw attention to myself. As I walked, I suddenly heard a growl. It was low and menacing, and it seemed to come from all around me. I froze, not sure what to do. That's when I saw him, the Hairy Hound Man of Holly Tree, Alabama. He was just as my great-grandfather had described him. A half-man, half-dog creature covered in shaggy, matted fur. His eyes glowed in the darkness, and his teeth were bared in a fearsome snarl. I was terrified, but I remembered the stories my family had told me. The Hairy Hound Man only ate bad people. I knew I was a good person, so I stood my ground. The Hairy Hound Man studied me for a moment, then sniffed the air. I could almost hear him thinking. Finally, he turned and trotted off into the shadows. I breathed a sigh of relief, grateful to get to live another day. The Hairy Hound Man of Holly Tree, Alabama is not a myth, but he is a reminder that good will always conquer evil and that justice will always prevail. Story number 2. The situation with Mr. Thompson keeps gnawing at me. I live in a quiet suburban neighborhood where the streets are usually deserted after dark, except for the occasional headlights of passing cars. However, lately, something has been gnawing at me and keeping me up at night. It all starts with my neighbor, Mr. Thompson. He moved in a few months ago, and at first, I thought he was a nice guy. But slowly, I began to notice some strange things. Like that the streetlights flickered whenever he walked underneath them. I also saw him sneaking into the woods behind our houses a few times on full moon nights. But what really freaked me out the most was the howling. Every once in a while, I would hear this horrible howling coming from his backyard, as if someone or something was in terrible pain. And then the next day, Mr. Thompson would act like nothing had happened. When I asked him about it, he just shrugged and said, I don't know, maybe it's a coyote. But I knew coyotes didn't howl like that. And the way his eyes gleamed in the moonlight made me think there was something more to his story. It was like there was an animal inside him, waiting to get out. I couldn't ignore it anymore. I had to find out what was going on. So one night I decided to spy on Mr. Thompson. I peered through my binoculars from behind the safety of my curtains and watched as Mr. Thompson went outside into his backyard. Suddenly something shifted inside him, and he let out a blood-curdling howl that echoed through the night sky. His body twisted, his muscles bulged, and hair began to sprout from his skin. I was paralyzed with fear and disbelief, watching as my neighbor transformed into a terrifying werewolf right before my eyes. He let out another howl, and I swear I felt his piercing yellow eyes lock onto me, as if sensing someone was watching from afar. I quickly retreated from the window, shaking and sweating all over. I felt I knew what I had to do. I had to go to the police, tell them everything, and get them to put him in a cell when the next full moon came around. But would they believe me? After all, who would believe such a fantastic story? I knew I had to be cautious, but I also knew I couldn't let Mr. Thompson roam free without everyone knowing what he was capable of. Well, I did go to the police, but they laughed me out of the station. It's been days since that night, and I can't stop thinking about what I saw. I keep hearing his howls every night, and I know it's just a matter of time before he unleashes his animal instincts again. I know I have to stop Mr. Thompson before he harms someone, but my hands are trembling as I write this, and I can't shake the feeling that he's watching me, even now, waiting for his moment to strike. This is story number 3. Fisherman's Dogman Tale. I couldn't believe my eyes when I saw it. It was a massive creature, standing on its hind legs, covered in fur, and with the face of a wolf. At first I thought it was just a large dog standing up, but its eyes looked almost human. I was a bit scared, but I couldn't take my eyes off the creature. I had been fishing at the lake all day, and had caught a decent amount of fish. I was just about to pack up my gear and head home when this dogman creature appeared out of nowhere. It walked toward me on 2 legs, its claws scraping against the rocky ground. I froze, not knowing what to do. I had no weapons or anything on me to defend myself. The creature approached me and snatched the basket of fish from my hands. Then he ran off into the woods. I was in shock. I couldn't believe what just happened. I had never seen anything like that before. I started to chase after it, but it moved so quickly, disappearing into the trees before I could even get within 40 feet of it. I was left standing there alone at the lake with no fish to show for my day of work. I knew that nobody would believe this fish story. I mean, who would believe that a wolfman had stolen my fish? But I knew what happened to me, and it was something that would stay with me forever. From that day on, I never venture out to fish alone. I always make sure to bring someone with me, just in case I ever encounter that creature again. I'm telling you, this was a terrifying experience, and I never want to go through something like that for the rest of my life. Now this is story 4. An old woman's sad dogman story. They say time has a way of healing all wounds. Or maybe time has a way of wounding all heals, but in either case, the gaping hole in my heart from the loss of my first husband so long ago hasn't ever truly closed. I've remarried 3 times since then, but I would still have been married to William if the dogman hadn't come from the sky and snatched him away. The memories still haunt me like a relentless nightmare that plays on a loop, reminding me of that horrible day when my first husband, William, was spirited away by those horrifying beings. The hairy dog-headed creatures. They were not of this world, I swear it. This all happened on a chilly autumn night in the year 1972. William and I were living a modest life in a secluded farmhouse nestled deep in the heart of the western Pennsylvania countryside. At that point, Will was working the farm days and a factory job at night, so I often found it hard to sleep at night, alone, in the lonely old place far away from other people. I grew up in Pittsburgh, which is a pretty big city, so I was used to having people surround me at all times. William working nights was probably the first time in my entire life that I was actually left alone for long periods of time, and it took some getting used to at the very least. Restless, I lay awake in bed, my mind wandering, contemplating the meaning of life and other pointless activities, until it was finally time for William to be walking home from his job. The sky was overcast that morning, so although dawn should have been starting, it still looked as dark as night outside. I sat on my bed, waiting and listening for the sounds of my husband coming home, when I was shocked out of my skin by a deafening roar filling the air, as if dynamite had exploded right over our farmhouse. I staggered out of bed toward the window, hoping that I could see what was going on. The sight that greeted my eyes was not an easy one to accept. Hovering above our fields was a brightly lit aircraft, unlike any I had ever seen. A very strange metallic structure that did not look like it should be able to fly. It was devoid of any markings or insignia. The thing's unearthly glow pierced through the darkness, casting sinister shadows across my land. This was no ordinary craft. This was an object of sheer horror. As I peered out of the house, the craft landed behind our home and the side of the futuristic vessel opened, revealing a blinding light that defied comprehension. My eyes strained to adjust, and that's when they emerged. The dog-headed creatures. Their weird forms defied logic, instilling a primal sense of deep dread within my being. Covered in coarse, matted fur that glistened in the eerie light, they possessed the bodies of men, but with grotesque canine heads. Their bloodshot eyes pierced through the night, mirroring my own fear and despair. The creatures didn't walk, they floated, in defiance of gravity. When I looked in the direction they were floating toward, I was extremely unhappy to see my husband walking home on the path near the fields. The floating dogman's eyes locked onto my William as he stumbled backward, looking more frightened than I'd ever seen him. A guttural growl erupted from their monster snouts, and I felt like I was gonna faint on the spot. With that, they snatched William from the ground, their talon-like hands gripping his trembling body. Their unearthly strength defied his desperate struggles as they lifted him toward their hovering vessel. And in one sickening moment, my love was swallowed by the blinding light, vanishing into the abyss within. The craft abruptly ascended, leaving nothing behind but the realization that my life with my husband was now over. I collapsed to the cold wooden floor, tears streaming down my face. The weight of loss crushed my spirit, drowning me in an ocean of grief. The authorities dismissed my story, branding me as a traumatized and silly woman, clutching at the threads of sanity. But I know what I saw. Those hairy, dog-headed beings who stole away my William. They came from another realm, aboard that godforsaken aircraft of unknown origin. Then again, when I just listened to myself saying that, I guess the story does sound a little odd. Now, in the twilight of my life, I wonder if I will see William again when I pass on. What if he is being kept in suspended animation by the aliens? Then he might never truly pass on to the other side. My fear is more than for my lost first husband's life. It's for what else might have been stolen away with him on that fateful night in 1972. Number 5. I thought I knew every nook and cranny of our old family house, but as I stood there dumbfounded, my heart pounding in my chest, I realized just how wrong I had been. 18 years had passed, and for all those years, an unsettling secret lay hidden beneath my feet. Little did I know, the innocent-looking mat in my closet concealed a trap door leading to a heinous abyss that would change my life forever. The day began like any other, mundane and ordinary. As I sifted through the clothes cluttering my closet, preparing for my big move to college, I noticed a slight bump beneath the frayed rug. My curiosity sparked. I peeled back the mat, revealing a small door hinged on a rusted latch. Confusion washed over me. How could I have missed this all my life? Tentatively, I opened the door, revealing a dark void leading downwards into the unknown. A chilly draft swept past me, carrying with it a scent of damp earth and decaying foliage. Goosebumps prickled my arms as I took the first steps down. Each creaking stair echoed my hesitation, beckoning me to turn back, but an inexplicable force pushed me forward, urging me to confront the dark secret that lay below our humble abode. As I descended deeper into the underground passageway, the darkness swallowed me whole. Moonlight filtered through narrow cracks, casting eerie shadows along the rocky walls. The cave seemed ancient, untouched by time, holding secrets that the entire above-ground world had long forgotten. A drop of water landed on my nose, breaking the silence with an ominous splash. My breath quickened, and I could feel my pulse pounding in my temples. Fear and uncertainty nestled deep within me, but an unrelenting curiosity propelled me forward. Suddenly, an otherworldly growl pierced through the stillness. Panic surged within me, rattling my bones. I turned to flee, but a pair of glowing yellow eyes materialized from the shadows, locking their gaze with mine. They belonged to no creature of this world. A feral, menacing animal stood before me, a Michigan Dogman, its long fangs dripping with drool. A cold sweat drenched my body as I clawed my way back toward the stairs, desperate to escape its clutches. Its snarls and thunderous footfalls grew closer, filling the cave with a primal terror. My muscles burned with exertion as I stumbled back up the steps, the creature's hot breath grazing the nape of my neck. I burst through the trap door, slamming it shut, just as the beast lunged toward me. The latch rattled under its weight, but miraculously, it held. Exhausted and trembling, I collapsed on the closet floor, the taste of fear lingering on my tongue. Tears streamed uncontrollably down my face as I realized the magnitude of the secret I had unearthed. How had my family been oblivious to the horrors concealed beneath our own home? This is a question I am still asking to this very day. Okay, I'm warning you ahead of time, this next guy is rather verbose. What I mean is he uses a lot more words than are probably necessary to say something. Nevertheless, he seems like a nice guy, so I hope you'll give his story a listen. Story number 6. The Creepy Dogman Under the House. I have long lived in this old creaking house, perched on the edge of a desolate street. Life has bestowed upon me the honor of growing old here, amidst memories that have faded, like the photographs in forgotten albums. But it's not the faded memories that haunt me, nor the decaying walls that whisper secrets to the dusty wind. Rather, it is the presence of a monstrous beast that prowls beneath my dwelling as night descends. The existence of this beast, shrouded in darkness, is a testament to the mysteries of this world. Towering at a bewildering 12 feet tall, the creature possesses a canine visage, hauntingly reminiscent of a dog's head, twisted and grotesque. Its fur, a matted abyss of midnight black, clings to its skeletal frame like a cloak of darkness. Some nights, when the icy rains or snowfalls come down and caress the earth, the beast appears, drawn out from the depths of the shadows, like some unholy apparition that sends shivers cascading down every human spine. Awakening from my restless slumbers, I strain to steal a glimpse of this abomination that has made itself at home beneath my very porch. Peering through the foggy glass of my window, I witness it emerge into the pale moonlight, its abhorrent silhouette dominating the night. It moves with an awkward grace, resembling a man tortured by his own afflictions. Each deliberate step, echoing the sound of thunderous footsteps, reverberates in the silence of the still air. The very thought of this creature's presence nearby instills a chilling fear within me. During the relentless, storm-filled nights, I would gather my courage and brave the tempest to offer the beast food, hoping to appease its unearthly appetite. Slowly I would approach, with a trembling hand extended, striving to bridge the divide between human and beast. But alas, the monster's snarls would rend the air, carried by an infernal wind, driving me back into the house, with my heart pounding in my chest. Though desperate to understand the nature of this abomination, I am left only with unanswered questions. What cruel twist of fate has borne this creature upon our world? What unspeakable darkness has given birth to such a horrific presence? And why, dear God, does it seek refuge beneath my home? Each time the beast ascends from its subterranean sanctuary, it scars my soul anew. The thought of encountering it in the dead of night, alone and defenseless, is a reality that haunts my every waking moment. The beast, an amalgamation of fear and awe, has become a constant reminder of the fragility of life and the terrors that lurk beyond the realm of mortal comprehension. Yet as the years march on, and my weary bones carry me closer to the inevitable embrace of death, I find solace in the knowledge that this haunted existence will not befall me forever. Perhaps when my time comes, this cursed creature will finally relinquish its grasp on my home, and I will depart from this world without the chilling echoes of snarls and dreadful footsteps resonating in my memories. Until then, I shall remain trapped within the walls of this house, forever haunted by the monstrous dog-headed beast that silently prowls beneath my porch on nights stained with rain and snow. She's the kind of person who's always Dogman craven. Of course, I'm talking about Talon the Raven. Please join me in thanking this episode's executive producer, Talon the Raven. Talon is a member of our PayPal subscribers club, and you can be too if you just go to peterbernard.com. Talon gets to see our secret uncensored stories, which come out 4 times a month, and so can you. And here's Henry Lee Dogman to explain how. Hank? Thanks, Biggie. And thanks to all of you for watching this far. If you liked it, please click like. If you'd like to see more of our work, please subscribe. And also click that bell icon if you'd like to be notified when we put out a new episode. To become an executive producer, you can donate to us through the thanks button under each of our videos or through our paypal.me/PeterBernard209 page. To receive cool perks like secret uncensored Dogman episodes far too wild to ever run on this channel, you can become a YouTube channel member by clicking the join button, or join our PayPal subscribers club at peterbernard.com. Joining either at the $3 a month level or above gets you access to our over 25 hours of secret uncensored Dogman stories available nowhere else. Do you have a scary story about Dogman or some other kind of high strangeness that happened to you? Let us know by emailing us at scarystoriesnyc@gmail.com or by leaving us a voicemail message at 804-LA-SCARY. You may need to call back on that one. It cuts off after, I think, 3 minutes. And if you don't want to do any of that stuff, thank you for simply watching to the end. Good night, and have a scary tomorrow.
Come back for more scary stories.